Happy first day of March Madness, and welcome into the PFF College Football Show. Max Chadwick alongside Dalton Wasserman here. Dalton, on the first day of the first round of the NCAA tournament, we're doing a first-round mock draft for the 2025 NFL Draft, our post-free agency edition mock draft. I think this is the one where you kind of know what rosters look like for the most part going to next year after the almost all free agents have been signed now. So now we kind of have a better idea of what teams are going to be looking for in the draft.
Yeah, for sure. Updating the needs as we go, right? As teams have started to fill out some of the holes on the roster at free agency. Obviously, some more than others. Some got a high volume of players. Some took a more targeted approach, right? But I think you had several teams do a really nice job of filling in some of their holes to figure out, okay, where do we need to really focus in on in the draft? And you have some teams that have gotten their starting lineups together and they can start to build the depth of their team as well.
I don't like how much we're matching today. I'll just put that out there right now.
Oh, no.
Both the black shirt going on right now, both with the white hat.
I was telling Trevor the other day, see when people are matching their clothes on purpose, maybe it's for some sort of purpose, or like even team uniforms, right? It's like a thing. But the accidental match is just not, it just never works, right? You never feel good about the accidental match. You almost feel like something's up, or, especially when it's you and me. It's suspicious.
It is bad because we both live in the same.
Did you watch the NFL show this morning?
I did not watch it. I missed it this morning.
I didn't know if you loosely tried to steal the look and then was like, hoping I wouldn't notice.
Donnie's asking in our chat right now, who's winning March Madness? Who's your pick?
I took the Gators, Florida.
All right, so you're going with Trevor's second one then?
Yeah, I'm going with it. For as much as I'm usually ribbing about it, they're raging hot, and of course they have former FAU player Elijah Martin as the starting guard. So I had to go with a former FAU guy. I also have Michigan in the Final Four. Dusty May, I love him.
So you're kissing up to Trevor Sikkema. I'm kissing up to our producer Eli Nagel. I have Duke winning March Madness this year. I think Cooper Fly is getting healthy. Eli just let out a woo in the back, so I think Eli also surprised the Duke Blue Devils winning this year. I think this is the year for John Shire to get his first national title with the Blue Devils. But back to our 2025 NFL mock draft. Let's pull up the PFF mock draft simulator right now. Of course, it's available to you guys at pff.com with a PFF Plus subscription. You could draft a full first round like we're going to do today, or you can do a full 7 rounds if you're a true sicko for your favorite team or all 32 NFL teams. You can trade players and trade picks using the PFF mock draft simulator, the best mock draft simulator on the planet. All right. Dawn, I think I have the odds picks right in this mock draft.
You're going first. If you want to go first, feel free.
All right, I have, and this is what we think will happen on draft night, not what we think we would do as the general manager. So with the first overall pick, I think the Tennessee Titans, with how much they built up that offense, signing guys like Dan Moore to that offensive line, I think this is really setting up for them, and not getting a veteran quarterback, this is really setting up for them to get a quarterback. And I think Cam Ward, for the majority of teams, is QB1 in this class. So I'm going to go with Cam Ward here. The Miami Signal Caller is the highest graded quarterback in the country this past season. He has more tools, physical tools, than Shedeur Sanders. I do think Tennessee is one of the teams that really likes Shedeur Sanders. Maybe if they want to trade down from that number 1 overall pick to maybe number 2 or number 3. But the issue is if you trade down to number 3, the Giants, you don't know if the Browns will take Shedeur or not. And then all of a sudden you're left at the altar without a bride there if you're Tennessee. So I'm going to go with Cam Ward here. I don't think they're going to be trading down, and I think it'll be the first pick.
I agree. There's a strategic part to it where, obviously you could get more capital trading down, but also with only 2 quarterbacks that are coveted this highly or potentially this highly in the draft, and moving down to that 3rd spot with the Giants, you would just put yourself in the Giants' vulnerable position of, okay, Cleveland seems to be the team that we don't know what they're thinking right now, and of course that's kind of where I'm going to get at with this second pick, is I think there's an air of mystery around that. We know the Giants are going to want a quarterback, right, at this point. They need to win right now. We have no idea what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. We have no idea what's happening with Russell Wilson. And even then, they still need a long-term solution. So I think Tennessee has the advantage of, obviously, if you're the first pick, it's the one independent variable that you can control. Take your pick. It seems like the scouts like Cam Ward a little bit better, so I'm with you. I think Cam Ward's going with that first pick.
And maybe the Browns really want to guarantee themselves Cam Ward. Maybe they're one of the teams that loves Cam Ward and is not really that big of a fan of Shedeur Sanders. I think maybe Tennessee could trade down to number 2 and maybe pick up an extra, 4th-round pick or something like that, because they don't have that many picks in this draft, Tennessee. So.
Yeah, that's an option if they like both of them. If they clearly like Cam better as well, as we've heard from some teams, then so be it. Then then they're going to take Cam first. If they like Shedeur enough, trading down to 2 makes some sense, but I don't think they're trading down to 3. I know it's an idea that's been posed, but it just at this point,
risky.
One of these 2 guys is going to be Tennessee's quarterback, and it sure feels like it's going to be Cam Ward.
All right, Cam Ward, number 1 overall. Who is the number 2 overall pick for the Cleveland Browns?
Oh, this is still so hard. I mean, there's a case to be made about Abdul Carter, and that's still been an idea floated out there, because the idea of him and Myles Garrett in the same pass rush is scary, but you also have a team that just with Garrett alone already has an elite pass rush for everything he can do, arguably the best pass rusher in football, highest pass rush grade by an edge defender in PFF history, by the way, Myles Garrett. So, I mean, you're talking about an all-time great player, but the Browns do have other needs, right? And I think what keeps sticking in my head is when we heard Andrew Berry at the Combine talk about he leans towards Travis Hunter being a receiver. This team needs help at receiver no matter who their quarterback is going to be. They also need help on the offensive line, but I think if they're going to address that, they would either trade down or wait till their later picks. I'm going to go with Travis Hunter here, and I'm going to take Andrew Berry at his word that he believes he could be a number 1 receiver in this league. You add him in with Jerry Jeudy. You add him in with David Njoku at tight end. You can fix running back later in the draft. Maybe they select a quarterback later. Maybe they go with a veteran quarterback. They were meeting with Russell Wilson last week, so I don't know what the quarterback solution will be. I'm not really a fan of this current Browns team selecting a quarterback anyway. I don't think they're ready to support one with their offensive line and their lack of running backs in there. So I'll take Hunter, elite athlete. If they want to use him both ways, they certainly have room to. Also, they could use improvement at corner. I think Hunter gives them the most options to improve on the outside on both sides of the ball.
It certainly makes a lot of sense, right? You have Jerry Jeudy in that receiver room, who's a good, I would say, maybe number 2 option for a team. I don't know if I really want him as a number 1 receiver, but you get added Travis Hunter, who the Browns, like they said at the Combine, they think he is a wide receiver. And also, Dalton, they have a little bit of a need at corner as well. So he can help out there at corner if you want to play him 2 ways. Because I like Denzel Ward a lot, but Martin Emerson has had some issues in his career. He's a decent player overall. Greg Newsom's been a solid player too, but they can definitely add some more talent at corner. My one thing is with this pick and why I think Shedeur is still very much an option, I don't know how many more bites of the apple Kevin Stefanski is going to get. If they have another year where they're like one of the worst teams in the league, he might not be out of a job. So, which is bad because I think Kevin Stefanski is a really good coach. I think 2-time coach of the year, and he will get scooped up immediately by some other team. But I think if you're in job preservation mode in Cleveland, you probably want to take a quarterback there. So it's a very tough pick because it's tough with just that part of it saying, okay, I might be in a place where we need to take a quarterback and we need to improve this team immediately because he might not be the coach next year if they are, again, one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the league.
Maybe, but I do think there's maybe a slightly greater sense of security for him than there is for maybe this next team in the order here, right? Because we haven't outwardly heard that, it's boom or bust for Stefanski in 2025. And I think the one thing is, what is the perspective on upper management in the organization as far as, look, they will not succeed until they get the Deshaun Watson contract out of the way. They just can't. I mean, it's taking up too much cap space. It's killing the roster building that they could do with, obviously, a cheaper quarterback. So I think it doesn't matter to me. They're not going to have success with Watson still existing there in Cleveland. It's just not going to happen. So to me, long-term play, take Travis Hunter. Or, Abdul Carter makes some sense if you want to pair it that way. Or even if you want to trade down, I still think the Browns aren't out of the question for trading down if one of these other teams felt good enough either about a quarterback or Travis Hunter, or let's say Carolina, if they wanted Abdul Carter bad enough and they felt like he was so clearly the guy they need, going from 8 to 2, I think it would make some sense for both sides there.
Exactly. All right, Travis Hunter goes number 2 overall. I think the draft really starts at number 2. I think Cam Ward by some team will be the number 1 overall pick to somebody, probably Tennessee. I think at number 2, Cleveland could still go with Abdul Carter and form a lethal pass rush with him and Myles Garrett. Obviously, you take Travis Hunter as well, like you just did right there, or Shedeur Sanders is still an option too for them. So it really, the draft starts at number 2. At number 3, I think the New York Giants need to take a quarterback here. They're definitely in that boat of, hey, we're in job preservation mode, and we know that because the owner, John Mara, basically said, hey, it's put up or shut up time now for Brian Dable and general manager Joe Shane. So they got to take a quarterback. John Mara, the owner, said finding a quarterback is the number 1 priority for this team. They did not sign a veteran yet. They're still in the sweepstakes for Aaron Rodgers, still in the sweepstakes for Russell Wilson as well. So, but right now, Tommy DeVito is the only quarterback on the roster. And as much as I love Tommy DeVito, former Syracuse great, I actually had classes with him at Syracuse.
Jersey native as well,
Jersey
right?
native, yeah, Don Bosco guy. He actually wore a chain at Syracuse, like a big chain that said TD13 on it. And I was like, all right. So he loves himself, and I think Tommy DeVito is he's a fun guy. I just don't think he's a franchise quarterback in the NFL, unfortunately, though. So I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders here, and I think it's still possible they sign Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, But I think they're going to go with Shedeur Sanders. Even if they sign one of those two guys, they're not really long-term answers either. So I'm going to go with Shedeur Sanders here to the Giants.
And honestly, even if the pass protection holds up enough there, you've got a decent base of weapons to work with, right? You've got Malik Neighbors, you've got Darius Slayton, you've got Wan'Dale Robinson, maybe Theo Johnson at tight end, right? Maybe they find, I think another running back would help them in this draft. I don't think the cupboard is bare, but the Giants have to find a long-term solution, or like you mentioned, Dable and Shane are going to really be on the hot seat as we get through the season if they don't have a stable long-term solution at quarterback. So I think Sanders, look, on the per a lot of people's big boards, is he the third best player in the draft as far as just a football player, accounting for all positions? No, but this is where the quarterback balance comes into it, and you just go, it feels like the Giants have to do this, doesn't it?
This is the team that is most desperate to get a quarterback.
I would say so, yeah.
Cleveland, you can make the argument, okay, maybe Stefanski gets another year and gets a guy in 2026. There's no 2026 for New York under this regime if they can't figure out quarterback this year. So, Shedeur Sanders number 3. I want to remind people, I didn't say this at the top, I should have. We're not doing any trades in this mock draft because I think this team in the next, Dalton, the New England Patriots, might be a trade down candidate, but no trades in this mock, at least for this mock draft. We will be doing mock drafts with trades later on in the draft process, but with no trades here at number 4, who is New England taking?
So with Trevor earlier in the week, we had a trade down for New England from 4 to 10, so the Bears could move up and take Abdul Carter. Now, we certainly caught some flack from New England fans for that because they were screaming at us that if Abdul Carter's on the board at 4, that New England should just go ahead and take them. Now, I don't know yet that I fully agree with that philosophy because I still think at some point here you have to surround Drake May with the things he needs on offense, and I know Mike Vrabel's a defensive guy and he built it through free agency. Milton Williams, Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis. Look, they made a lot of good signings in free agency. That looks like a pretty legitimate 3-layered defense right now. Now, I get the appeal with Carter. He would be a superstar pass rusher that you might not necessarily have with Harold Landry or even a Keon White who moves around a bit. But it's an option. I think you have an option for both, and you still have an option, I think, for an offensive player here. Teteroa McMillan should be in play. Will Campbell should be in play, right? An offensive lineman. The only guy they signed really externally that'll make any impact on offense is Morgan Moses at right tackle, which is cool, but they need left tackle, they need receiver, they need running back. These are the 3 things. Now, I don't think they would take Ashton Jeanty here. I'm just being honest with you. We can get running backs later in the draft, but you know what? I think for the sake of where it was earlier in the week, and I want to see where the draft shakes out. And I do think it is a possibility they do this. I will go with Abdul Carter here at 4 to New England, and we'll maybe stack, if we were doing a 7-round mock for New England, maybe we'll stack the rest of the draft with offense and helping Drake May out. But they were also tied for 28th in pass rush grade last year with Tennessee, who has been thinking about Abdul Carter with the first overall pick too. So now you've got a defensive line. You're talking about Abdul Carter. Okay, they signed Harold Landry, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, Keon White. It's pretty darn good defense they'd be building there in New England. To their credit, to Mike Vrabel's credit, there's a lot of talent he's going to be working with there. So if he wants to go defense first and build the offense slowly and build it around Drake May and just keep developing that, I get it. We'll take Abdul Carter here at 4 and see where the rest of the draft shakes out for us.
All right, Abdul Carter, number 4 overall to the New England Patriots after Patriots fans got all pissed at you and Trevor a few days ago.
They were hot. They want New England. New England fans. You play both sides, so you always win. That's the old always sunny thing. If I play both sides, I always win. So this time, I'll get Patriots fans Abdul Carter because they apparently, I didn't know how badly they wanted Abdul Carter. They're about it in New England, man. They want pass rush help. They want maybe you know what? Maybe they want to win games 13-10, but I respect it.
Then Harold Landry had the lowest pass rush win rate in the NFL last year, didn't he?
He was much better in run defense. I forget the exact.
It was like 9%. It was something like that. It was one of the lowest in the league. So he is. They do need pass rush.
And to the point of, if you're going best available and you're drafting off the board, I mean, Carter's the highest player. He's the highest ranked player remaining there. So if you want to go that way, there's definitely reasons for New England to take Abdul Carter. I just get a little worried about, surrounding Drake May in the offense and actually scoring points as opposed to being in slugfests all the time. But talent is talent, and if you take Carter at 4, I'm not going to complain too much because all of a sudden your defense does look nasty.
We got our guy Max Toscano in the chat right now saying, why are we talking about football right now? Big East supremacy is happening. I think Creighton's destroying Louisville right now. Not a great look for my ACC right now.
Quinn's in shambles, isn't he?
Yeah, it's pretty. It's
early. It's early. You know what? Xavier was behind heavy last night. And Louisville, plenty of time. It can't even, is it even halftime yet? I mean, I
don't know. I think it's
you know how
now.
these games, they always end up going down to the wire anyway.
But Max also asking, why hasn't Tyler Warren gone yet? Obviously, tight end guru Max Toscano. Follow him on Twitter. He's a really great follow for all the tight end stuff. But
he would have Warren Loveland going 1-2. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would. He would take tight ends with the first 5 or 6 picks. I'm sure.
So
he is the guru. Follow him on Twitter because he knows tight ends better than just about anybody I've met for sure.
Absolutely. All right, number 5 overall, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a pretty easy pick for me, at least. This is one I think is going to happen on draft night. And their general manager, James Gladstone, even said it in the press conference. And one of the reporters asked him, hey, James, you need D tackles, and you haven't signed any D tackles in free agency. Like, what gives there? And he goes, well, got a lot of draft picks, and you need to free up some spots for our draft picks. So I'll just leave it right there. And it's like, all right, well, Mason Graham is a Jacksonville Jaguar. So I think Mason Graham is going to be a Jaguar on draft night. This is what I would do as well if I was a GM of Jacksonville. I think he's one of the safest players in this draft. I don't think the weight he came in at the combine is really much of a factor at all. I know he came in at 296, even though he's listed at 320 by Michigan. He is a guy that I have a source close to Mason Graham that told me that he plays at 315. So he played at 315 last year for Michigan. That's really what his playing weight's at. Usually most guys lose weight. Mason Graham also got hurt in the pre-draft process, which is why he lost a little more weight as well. Will not affect him long term. He's going to play around 315. And even if he played at 296, man, his tape is so freaking dominant. I would take this guy in the top 5, top 10 easily in this draft. I think he's one of the best players in this draft, and I think fits a massive need in Jacksonville, and I think James Gladstone already kind of hinted at maybe they're taking Mason Graham number 5 overall in that press conference.
Yeah, I was talking to Trevor about the D tackle class this morning, and I pretty much told him if it was me, unless Travis Hunter's on the board, this pick is Mason Graham.
No. Travis Hunter's the number 1 player for Jacksonville.
Yeah. I would agree with that. The only reason they wouldn't take Mason Graham here, if it was me, is if Travis Hunter was sitting there. Otherwise, if Hunter's gone in the first 4 picks, Mason Graham to Jacksonville should be a shoo-in. I really firmly believe he shouldn't get any further than that, considering just the match of their needs on the inside. You add him to a defensive line with Eric Armstead, Josh Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, everything that they got going. They got 2 good linebackers behind them. I think this could be very suddenly a very, very good defensive front if they add Mason Graham to it. The pick almost feels too obvious, which is why it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
But I think I just don't see any reason he should get by Jacksonville. I think it's the perfect pick for them.
And the fact that, listen, Trevor said this a lot too, which I like this saying. He goes, hey, coaches and GMs can lie to you in press conferences, right? They lie with their words. They do not lie with their money. And the fact that Jacksonville has not spent anything on D tackle, even though that is one of the biggest needs on the team, they're not sending out a smokescreen doing that. I think they are very much targeting Mason Graham at number 5.
They spent money on the offensive line. They spent money in the secondary. Yep. I don't think they spent any money at receiver, I'm pretty sure. I don't. They traded.
They signed Diami Brown.
Oh, okay, that's right. Oh, they spent money at receiver. I had to remember because I know they traded Christian Kirk away. They spent money at receiver. Running out of spots here where they've done where they're waiting. It feels like right now it feels like they're waiting for Mason Graham. It's the exact pick I would make for sure.
Devon Hamilton and Mason Smith are the 2 starting D tackles right now. They need to improve at that. Right. So yeah, I think getting Mason Graham with Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen would be pretty lethal defensive line. All right, Mason Graham number 5 overall, number 6 the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay, well I've got 2 choices here. I think this is obvious. I know they could go secondary. But when you've got premier offensive talent in those first 2 guys we see sitting there, Teterow, McMillan, and Ashton Ginty, I think the pick is between one of these 2 guys. Do we want to run the football? Well, at least with Ginty, although there's a ton of good running backs later on that we could find. Or do we want to take many argue is the wide receiver 1 in this draft, with Travis Hunter, there's different weird arguments with that, but let's just say the best pure wide receiver in this draft and then figure out running back. I mean, this is a real decision because you got a team that was last in the league in rushing grade. But you also have a team that doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver. Now, I think about this again. I think either pick if they were to pick between these 2 guys, flip a coin really, and I think either one I could justify it being right. But
can you pick Tet just so I don't have a decision to make at number 7?
Yes. Actually, well, that's where I was going.
Okay,
I can do that
because I'm lost with your Jets at number 7 between Tyler Warren and Teterow McMillan. So I'm happy that you're taking the decision.
There's certainly another player on the board that seems to be getting a lot of noise on that, but we'll talk about that in a second. No, I think the big thing for me with Tet is actually the acquisition of Geno Smith and his ability to throw the ball downfield. The last 3 years, he's been one of the best quarterbacks throwing the ball downfield. Teterow McMillan over the last 2 years is the best receiver in college football on 10-plus yard targets. I think it's a perfect fit. I think you keep Jacoby Myers in that Z role where he's so comfortable. You have Brock Bowers flying all over the place, and we could figure out a running back or two. Maybe Chip Kelly wants one or both of his Ohio State backs. That would make a lot of sense here. But I think to get an opportunity to jolt this passing game with McMillan and then figure out the run game later, it's a pretty good offensive line. We can fit a lot of backs in there, and I absolutely love Ashton Jeanty. If they took him here, I would not complain. I think that's also a great pick, but I'll go with McMillan to complement Geno Smith and his downfield passing.
All right. So you got Tedder McMillan going number 6 overall to the Raiders, and you're right. I actually didn't even realize this. I still have a decision to make here at number 7 because I think Armand Membu is getting a lot of hype right now for New York.
Yes, because
need at right tackle.
That's really it's the one spot in the offensive line that's not set. 4 of the spots are set. Membu at right tackle. I think it makes sense. I think it would be hard for me to pass up Warren in this scenario.
Yeah.
I think if Mason Graham were on the board, that would also be a thought. If Tet were on the board, like you just mentioned, that would be a thought. I think the way this board shakes out, to me, this is Tyler Warren. I think you could also, let's just say in the middle rounds, in the second or third round, find a right tackle, say Ozzie Trapilo, like in round 3. If they were to get him in early round 3, I don't know if the Jets have a third-round pick with the Adams trade. They might not. But something along those lines, I think they could find a serviceable right tackle later. Tyler Warren's a different level of freak at tight end. That's where I would go if the board fell like this.
I'm going to go with Tyler Warren as well, only because they have such a need, not only at tight end, but at pass catcher in general. All they have is Garrett Wilson right now. That's it. There's Garrett Wilson, and you got Al Lazard, currently, who might not even be on the team at the opening week of the season, and Xavier Gibson is your starting 3 receivers, and then your tight end is Jeremy Ruckert. So you have Justin Fields has nothing besides Garrett Wilson to throw to in that receiving corner.
And there weren't many starting caliber tight ends in free agency, but they didn't go after, say, somebody like Jawan Johnson from the Saints or even a veteran. Right now, their tight end room is Jeremy Ruckert and Stone Smart. Yeah. Right. So you're talking.
Zach Kuntz, Penn State legend too. Don't forget him.
Oh, I forgot he went to Penn State because he was drafted, or he wasn't even drafted. He came from what, Old Dominion?
He transferred.
So I mean, I didn't even know.
One of the most athletic tight ends of all time. One of the greatest combines ever for tight end.
Penn State gets all of them, don't
we? Do.
Jeez,
yeah, we do.
Unreal.
Tight end you. But I'm taking another Penn State tight end here.
If only you were wide receiver you.
I wish, dude. Yeah, I'm going Tyler Warren for the simple fact. Yes, they need right tackles. Carter Warren is currently the starting right tackle, but I think they have nothing in that receiving core outside of Garrett Wilson. So I'm going to go with Tyler Warren here because I think they need to add some other pass-catching option for Justin Fields.
Reasonable. Absolutely reasonable. And Warren's great in the run game, too. All right, Carolina.
And Max gets off my back, too. With Tyler Warren off the board.
Finally. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, going to the Jets. There you go. Okay. So see, you're getting everybody off your back. Do you feel relieved now?
I do. Now he's going to get on me for
out of the way. You got Toscano off your back. We're good. Okay, so 8th overall, Carolina. We need defense. We need a star defensive player. And there's several directions I could go with this. Could be an edge defender. Jahad Campbell sitting there all the way up to 10th on the big board. Look at Jahad Campbell. And
wow.
Panthers do have a need at linebacker. Here's what I'll say. I don't think this will be a corner. They just paid J.C. Horn. They also re-signed Mike Jackson to a 2-year deal who played pretty well. I think it's a little high for them to go safety, say Malachi Starks. I don't think they would do that. I'm pretty sure this will still be a defensive lineman. It's just hard to pick out which one, honestly. I mean, we've heard a lot about Jalen Walker. We've heard a lot about James Pierce Jr. We've heard a lot about, Mike Green. We've heard there's so many guys, and it's hard to sort what you really need. I
think it'll be Jalen Walker.
You think it'll be Jalen Walker?
I think it'll be Jalen Walker. I think in that 3-4 defense they run.
But do we know?
And a little bit of need at linebacker.
You think you think they're going to combo it? You think? Because I personally have a hard time taking Walker over Pierce or Green.
But I don't think that's the problem. If we're doing predictive mock, I agree with you. If we're doing predictive mock draft, though, I think Jalen Walker's the next edge.
So you think they take the chance on the hybrid and they make him the linebacker slash?
I think they would do that. I don't know. I think in that he fits the defense a little bit better than Shamar. I think the next 2 edges off the board are Jalen Walker and Shamar Stewart. And I think he fits their defense better than Shamar Stewart, and I think he could play a little linebacker too, which they might like. Again, I would not do this here, but I don't think Mike Green or James Pierce Jr. are going over Jalen Walker right now. That's at least what I think.
Put it in Eli. Jalen Walker. We'll do it. I might not agree with it if we're going predictive.
I don't agree with it either.
I would probably take Pierce.
So, same. Absolutely.
Pierce, or I would argue Green if the off-field stuff checks out. That's all. We don't have any control over that. So, I had Green slightly ahead of Pierce. I think they're both, you could flip a coin and take either one of them. But Jalen Walker to Carolina, he's a Carolina kid, isn't he? Isn't that right? What he was
I think so, yeah.
Right? His dad, it was his dad coached at Coastal for a long time, I think it was. Yeah. So, I mean, Look, Panthers last year Xavier Legette, this year Jalen Walker, hometown kids. They're taking him 9 to the Saints. What do you have?
Donnie actually says he thinks it's either going to be Mason Graham if he's there, or they're taking a Bulldog. He's a source close to the Panthers, is what I told him. So maybe we got some inside sources from our viewers right now. Our guy Donnie.
If Mason Graham is there,
that would be
you
great.
take Mason Graham
with Derek Brown. Oh, that'd be nasty.
Absolutely. All right.
Oh, this is interesting here, New Orleans.
It could be an edge rusher spot. It could be New Orleans. Well, those are a couple interesting picks at the top there. People are making most often. Tet and Warren to the Saints.
Yeah.
Some offense in there.
Will Campbell, too. And Will Campbell's still here.
Yes, but where do you put him? This is the question,
Yeah.
okay, because this is the offensive line question with the Saints is how much do they believe in Trevor Penning? 2, if you were to take a tackle, Campbell or Membu or whoever, who's moving? Is Penning the one moving? If Penning's the one moving, do you take Membu as the right tackle? Or do you move Fuaga back to the other side, even though Fuaga wasn't that bad this year, especially he was solid in the run game, and obviously there'll be some adjustments to a new run scheme. Do you move Fuaga back to the right side, and maybe you take a left tackle, or you could still take Membu and move him, and you take Campbell, what's that term Trevor uses, low moving costs?
Yeah, low moving costs.
Moving costs for Will Campbell, and you have Campbell on the left side and Fuaga on the right side. Because Fuaga, what is it? He didn't play a single snap at left tackle in college, and they just moved him there this year just to do it.
I'm gonna do.
We got the J.C. Latham thing going here with
Yeah,
Fuaga,
I know.
too.
I'm gonna go with Will Campbell because I do think you can move Fuaga back to right tackle where I think he's more natural. So I'm gonna go with Will Campbell here. Low moving costs, keep him in Louisiana. He's from Louisiana as well.
Oh, that's a question. Maybe we do. Sorry, I'm talking future stuff. I know Eli needs a nap, but should we do a whole draft of low moving costs?
That'd be really funny.
A whole low moving
That'd be
cost
really
mock
good.
draft.
We should get creative with these final mock drafts we do. I think that'd be fun. I like your idea of doing a mock draft where we can't do a pick that we've done before.
Okay,
that could be a fun one too.
That too, or like we got to find a certain mileage. You can't go outside of 300 miles or some nonsense. Right. Okay, we'll think of that. That'll be later. We'll think of that.
We got to do research for that. But all right, Will Campbell, I'm going here. I think move Fuaga back to right tackle. Also, they kind of need it guard as well. They have Nick Sadavari at left guard, who I don't think is much of a starting caliber option either. So if you want to keep Penning at right tackle, and also Penning struggled throughout his entire career right now. It's not like Penning has shown you too much.
It's the pass protection.
Yeah.
Or you could move Penning to the inside and see if that works better for him.
I think it might work better because I think his foot speed is an issue at tackle right now, especially in his pass set. So I think you could put Fuaga at right tackle, Will Campbell at left tackle, and you move on there for New Orleans.
All right, Eli's ahead of us on the Bears already. It looks like he wants a certain player in Chicago.
I think
we did our Drew Dahlman breakdown earlier this week and why that would work in that outside zone scheme if they've rebuilt the offensive line. And for as much as they could go defense here, it's possible a Shamar Stewart, a James Pierce, a pass rusher, something in that vein. It feels like the Bears are loading up to take Ashton Jeanty.
I think they are.
I'm going to do it. You know what? I did the O-line breakdown earlier in the week. I broke down why the running game can work and all of that stuff. We're going to do it. Ashton Jeanty, Chicago Bears. I'll tell you, if you told people a year and a half ago in the NFL, Caleb Williams and Ashton Jeanty would be playing in the same offense with Roma Dunze, well, college football fans would probably call you crazy at that point. But, no, I mean, in Jeanty, look, I think he's such a good back that he's a perfect fit anywhere. But in this offense with Ben Johnson calling the plays and the offensive line, the way they've rebuilt it, it could be dangerous. You could see Caleb throwing the ball a whole lot less in that scenario. I'm about it. I think Jeanty's worth every bit of a top 10 selection. I think he's one of the best college prospects at running back we've seen, in the last decade or so. I think it's full worth it. They have 2 second-round picks to add to the depth of the D-line and even the O-line if they want to. Maybe even another weapon on offense. But Jeanty's a premier talent. Tough to feel like the Bears would pass him up here if he gets to 10.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, I got San Francisco here.
There are a couple options.
There's 2 options looking at. I'm looking at Membu for right tackle. And I think he'd fit that scheme really well, that zone scheme they run a lot.
For sure.
But also, they have a need at corner.
Yep.
Because Travarius Ward's now in now in Indianapolis. Will Johnson, I think, really fits the scheme that Robert Saleh wants to run very well.
I think Johnson or Barron. I think both of them would. Depend. I don't know what they would prefer necessarily between the two of them. I know.
Why don't they run Saleh likes to run a lot of man coverage. I know.
He usually leans more into 3 and 4. He'll get in. I think he started to get in more in man last year, in the last year and a half, because he had Sauce and Reed out there and he was capable of it. But generally, he wants to lean back a little bit if he's got more normal corners than Sauce Gardner. When you have Sauce Gardner, you better run some man-to-man.
Yeah.
And this year, Jeff Ulbrich got a little more aggressive after Saleh was fired. But
he ran man coverage like 31% of the time last year, which is the 10th highest rate in the NFL.
So I mean that's the thing though. And again, some of that was after Saleh got fired and Ulbrich actually got a little more aggressive after that. But either way, I think either of those guys would fit. The question for Johnson going this high is the health. And again, now he's hurt, and we're waiting till even
point.
Further. So either one's an option. I still believe in Johnson's talent. Got to be healthy.
God, they really need a corner, though. Trey Brown, Ronaldo Green, and Deommodore Lenoir are their starting 3 corners. Or
is Membu the way to go for the future of the franchise and Brock Purdy?
That might be, yeah. All right,
or Banks. I mean, because we both know Banks would fit too. Either one of them.
I think Membu is going to go over Banks, even though I would take Banks here. But I think Membu is going to be the pick over Banks, so I'm going to take Membu to number 11 to the 49ers.
I mean, look. Anyway,
I don't hate Colton McKivitz either. I'll say that at right tackle. I don't think he's that bad of a player.
Membu would be an upgrade. I think he would be. The bigger thing to me,
I don't think it's that big of a need as the more I look at it.
I mean, fixing up the pass protection. Even if is there a chance you could move McKivitz inside? You lost Banks at left guard. I mean, there's a lot of shuffling to do. I think on that offensive line, you still have Trent Williams, Dominic Puni's a monster at right guard. To me, I think there could be upgrades had at all 3 spots.
Yeah.
And if that means somebody kicks inside, if that means it's Membu or Banks even, or if they feel like Banks was a guard, then so be it. But I'm a big fan of fixing up this offensive line for the future because, again, that Brock Purdy contract's coming.
Yeah.
And when that contract gets there, it gets harder to protect him. It gets harder to support him, right? I think a pick like Membu it's more of a long-term pick to me. I think the Niners they could make the playoffs. They're talented enough to make the playoffs. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders in 2025. I think they're taking this year to retool this roster. I think Membu is a great long-term play there.
All right, so next up, you are with the Dallas Cowboys, number 12.
Couple of players here I think about. I still think about the Cowboys getting through free agency, and I don't feel any better about their run defense than I did before.
Shamar Stewart's still there.
And, well, I have options. Jahad Campbell's an option.
Yeah.
I think for sure. I think Shamar Stewart's an option. I think Kenneth Grant's an option. I think those are all 3 guys, and for all the same reasons. Campbell can cover, too, at linebacker, obviously a great athlete. All 3 of those guys would actually significantly help your run defense. I think the only thing with Kenneth Grant is he already took 1 Michigan defensive tackle.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to be burned again.
Now, Grant and Mozzie are 2 different players, obviously. They're built completely differently. I'm really between, I think, Shamar and Campbell here. Now, would I prefer to take Shamar this high myself? No, I don't think I would take him 12th overall in a vacuum, but I think Dallas would think about it. Low moving costs again.
Yeah.
So he would go here in a low moving cost draft, too. So
I think he'd be selected over Campbell, too, in a predicted mock.
And, the more I was thinking about this, Trevor made this same exact pick in our mock on Monday, and one of the things that sticks out to me, we have to remember, it's not Mike Zimmer now running this defense. It's Matt Eberflus.
Yeah.
Matt Eberflus is a coach who goes 4 down linemen more than almost anybody. So you need big, strong defensive ends to defend the run, and even Shamar Stewart, he can reduce down and play inside like he did at Texas A&M a little bit right over the tackle, or even, as a 7 on the tight end as well. There's still a ways to go with the pass rush. We know this.
Yeah.
But he's a really darn good run defender, right? He's a powerful, strong run defender who can one arm and hold that edge on the outside in that wide 9 as well. I think Eberflus is somebody who would like Shamar Stewart. The combine, I'm sure, has everybody enticed, right? And I think as a complement to what, first of all, they need as a front in run defense, and as a complement to Micah Parsons, who is an elite pass rusher and an up and down run defender, I think Stewart is somebody who could hold the edge in Eberflus's defense. Also, Eberflus's defensive ends, when lined up outside the tackles last year, were last in the league in run defense grade. It was not great. I think this is the type of player he's going to look for. I'll take Shamar Stewart at 12.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have done too. I think Shamar Stewart's going to be guys going to be selected around this range. I don't think Kenneth Grant will go this high. I don't think Jahad Campbell would go this high either. So I like this pick a lot. I think Shamar Stewart is what I would have done too if I was here with Dallas. All right.
This is easy, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm going with Calvin Banks Jr., the tackle from Texas, going over to Miami. Miami has not done much on the offensive line. this offseason. Teron Armstead still contemplating retirement. Liam Eichenberg they brought back, who is not a very good left guard either. I think he would be a home run pick in their outside zone heavy scheme.
I mean, in this scenario, if they feel like Banks can play left tackle, you're going to be looking at Kelvin Banks, James Daniels, as long as he's healthy. They signed him from Pittsburgh. Aaron Brewer, Austin Jackson at right tackle, and I always forget who the right guard is. I always lose it.
They have James Daniels playing right guard probably, and Liam Eichenberg playing left guard.
Okay. So, because they lost Robert Jones too. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, you could fill in with another guard, or you could just keep trying with Eichenberg, even though he struggled throughout his career. But I think Banks, and even let's just say, maybe if they feel like Banks is a guard and just a really good system fit, they did draft Patrick Paul last year too. So you could try Paul at left tackle and Banks at left guard and roll like that. But I think either way, this feels like too good of a system fit, both with the outside zone scheme and the fact that they need pass protection for Tua. I mean, it's the injury problem. He's only played 17 games one time in his career. You have to be able to keep him upright if you're going to succeed in this offense, both with running the football and keep him out of drop-back situations and protecting him when you need to get into those spots. Kelvin Banks to the Dolphins feels like an easy one.
He has been an outstanding pass blocker his entire career, too. So I think, Kelvin Banks Jr. is a really easy fit here for the Miami Dolphins. All right, next up you have the Indianapolis Colts at number 14.
The Colts. I think Colston Loveland would be a consideration here. I would think about it. I know there are some who think he is a top 12 to 15 talent in this draft. I'd be more likely if they had a shot at Warren to take Warren with the after-the-catch ability. I think about a few players here. I think about Malachi Starks to go with Cam Bynum on the back end, because the one thing with Bynum is his grading profile leans towards run defense. You look at their other starting safety right now projected, Nick Cross, kind of the same thing, more of a run defender. I do need a coverage safety. I wouldn't hate Jahdae Barron on the outside in this defense, but they did sign Shavarius Ward. They signed Bynum, like I just mentioned, at safety, so they really loaded up. I think it's, for me, between Jahad Campbell and Malachi Starks.
Interesting.
I think those are my two picks.
Not any edge rushers like Mykel Williams or anything like that?
I don't think so. I think they're going to ride it out. They've got Leatu Latu. They've got Kwity Paye, Samson Ebukam. I think they have enough on the edge that maybe they'll look at it later. I don't know that they would do it in the first round. I'm between Campbell and Starks there, and of course they're the top two players on the big board. Do they feel good? Do I match Starks with Bynum as the coverage guy? Or EJ Speed is still a free agent who I'm not sure if he's been signed anywhere, but he's not with the Colts currently. I'm going to go Jahad Campbell. I think he fits. I think he fits in next to Zaire Franklin. I think that's a hole in the front that they can fix more so than with another edge player who they've taken. Kwity Paye is a former first-round pick, Leatu Latu last year. I don't think they'll do it 2 years in a row. I'm going to go with Campbell at linebacker, the new start middle linebacker.
All right, I have the Atlanta Falcons here next at number 15 overall. This one's a little tough, too. I think edge rusher is probably where I'm going to go here.
Between the two big needs, that's the bigger one to me.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I think Jahdae Barron or Will Johnson's absolutely a consideration, but I mean you can't have the second worst pass rush grade in the league either.
No,
it's not great.
Promise. Do I go? I'm between. I think Mykel Williams and Mike Green are the next two edges off the board. I in that scenario for this team, I think it's Green by a mile. Yeah,
this team need a pass rusher.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too. But God, Will Johnson's tempting. I'm gonna go with Mike Green.
I got a feeling Johnson's gonna fall because of the injuries.
Yeah,
even right now he's dealing with another. I got a feeling we may get Will Johnson in the 20s.
I'll go with Mike Green here. Obviously, very good player on the field. A lot of questions off the field that need to be answered. So we have no idea about what's going on with that, obviously, but. I think if all that checks out, I think he at number 15 overall is probably around the range he'd go. And like you said, they need a stand-up rusher. Mike Green's that. They also need a really good pass rusher. Mike Green's that. So I think in those two aspects, he has the advantage over Mykel Williams. Even though I think the NFL might be a little bit higher on Mykel Williams than Mike Green, I think Mike Green is the pick here.
For the player that they need, you mentioned the pass rusher because Williams has the high floor as the run defender, right? And he's still developing the pass rush game. And Raheem Morris uses stand-up edge rushers as much as anybody in the league. I think the Falcons are in a pretty nice sweet spot here with this many. You see them all in the middle of this big board now. Mike Green, James Pierce Jr., even Donovan Ezeraku, if he liked him enough. You've got kind of a glut in this area of the draft of stand-up two-point edge rushers at outside linebacker spot. The Falcons are going to have a pretty good pick of the litter here, all right? Because I think even if, let's say, James Pierce goes ahead of him or Mike Green goes ahead of him, or even if they would think about a Jalen Walker, if for any reason he fell to 15, they would think about it, right, as that two-point stand-up, speedy edge rusher. Mike Green's a good pick there as long as the off-field stuff checks out. He is this level of top 15 talent.
All right, number 16, you have Donnie's Cardinals here. He already told you, don't mess it up, please, so... What are you doing here? 16?
Don't mess it. Oh yeah, Donnie's always putting the pressure on me. That's right. I feel like I always get the Cardinals pick when Donnie's.
Right.
I feel like that's not. I'm getting deja vu here, hearing that. Oh man, no pressure. All right, so could go D tackle, help the run defense. Could go edge player, although I do like that they signed Josh Sweat. I do like that they re-signed Baron Browning. I think that's a very underrated signing. So they've given themselves a lot of options here. Now, could they use help at linebacker? Sure. Help at outside corner? Sure. I wonder if this would be the Jalen Walker spot.
He's gone now.
Oh, he's gone. I'm sorry. We had him at Carolina. I was so used to getting him by. Well, I still wonder if it'd be the Jalen Walker spot if he's there. My bad.
Yeah.
Is this the Will Johnson spot then? Is it the Kenneth Grant spot? Although the only thing that makes me hesitant about D tackle is that we didn't really see Darius Robinson at all last year, maybe outside of, I think it was the last 5 games he played with the hamstring and stuff.
They signed Dalvin Tomlinson as a solid player.
Right. They signed Tomlinson inside. So maybe if we get away from the D-line here.
I still think it's a need, I will say. I still think D-tackle is a need.
Absolutely. I think a Kenneth Grant.
Even like a nose tackle at Kenneth Grant could be
really
helpful.
That could be helpful with Robinson as more of that kind of 5 technique tweener sort of guy, and he could move off he could play the edge on the outside a little bit too in early downs.
I had D-tackle. Actually, I did an article breaking down the biggest need for every team after free agency. I still had D-tackle as a top need for the Cardinals.
Because Tomlinson has kind of fallen off a little bit in run defense. So now I think about, this is a spot where I think about a D-tackle or Jahdae Barron or Will Johnson too. I think an outside corner would help them.
Yeah. Will Johnson is, I think Will Johnson might be just too good to pass up here for Arizona, looking at the board. Really tough, though. The injury.
Even Pierce, even if you took Pierce, I don't hate it.
Yeah, but they signed with Josh Sweat and Baron Browning solid.
I think Ezeraku's an underrated one here, too.
I don't think he goes this high.
Better run defender than we give him credit for.
Yeah, I don't think he goes this high.
I'll go Will Johnson. I do believe that the Cardinals need an outside corner. I like their safety situation a lot. I like Garrett Williams, Syracuse legend, in the slot as well. He's one of the better slot corners. I'm going to go with this. I think it's hard to tell right now if they would go corner or they'd go D-line. The other pick that I will tell you, I don't think he's getting to 16. But if Armand Membu ever did get to 16,
I love that.
It would be a wrap. But I think there's going to be a run of offensive linemen like we have here. So I think I'll go with Will Johnson out there at corner, get the secondary a little better. A team that was already getting better at preventing explosive plays through the air gets even better at it with the technique of Will Johnson. Just please be healthy enough to justify this.
All right, Eli, we didn't have our IFBs in today. I asked Eli what his pick would be, and he said it's D-line. You guys make the pick. So if it's just D-line, I think it's going to be an edge rusher with Trey Hendrickson, obviously still on the trading block. It sounds like they might get a deal done with him, but even so, Sam Hubbard already announced his retirement, so they need edge rusher. I think I'm going to go with James Pierce Jr. here.
You're going with it? And he got better in run defense this year, the 6th best the 6th lowest, I should say, negative run defense.
Do you think they're going for run defense is what they're going to be targeting, you think?
Well, this is the thing.
Because I think Mykel Williams.
If you are keeping Hendrickson, who is an elite pass rusher but not nearly as elite a run defender, I start to tilt the mentality on this a little bit where I go, okay, we still need to help this run defense. We can't get run over. I know they've kept, they kept B.J. Hill. They've kept Joseph Osai. They've kept some decent players, but Mykel would be a thought here as that other edge who would be the run defense complement. Because if you have Pierce and Hendrickson out there on the field at the same time, great pass rush duo, no question.
Yeah.
You're taking some chances.
Yeah.
And I think about a team like, and I know these are two great players too, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. They're great on the outside, right? And they're even pretty good run defenders. But having those two premier pass rushers does not matter if you're getting run all over, right?
Yeah.
Think about Houston playing Baltimore on Christmas Day, right? Those two guys didn't matter at all because they were getting just punched in their teeth all the time. The Bengals are going to need some run defense help in here. I think Williams would play a pretty darn good complement to Hendrickson if that's what you were focusing on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do think Trey Hendrickson's going to re-sign.
And Michael is, I mean, we may or may not agree with it, but he's probably going top 20.
Yeah, he's number 15 consensus right now, and Pierce is 20. So I think, yeah, I'm going to go with Michael Williams. That's a good point. So I'm going to go with Michael Williams. I do think he provides a good run defense complement to Trey Hendrickson, who I think will be back with Cincinnati. If he's not back, though, I might lean James Pierce Jr. to add to that.
Agreed on that. I just think you'd be taking a gamble with Pierce as small as he is, and Hendrickson just being a very average run defender. You're still taking the gamble that teams like Baltimore in that division, if you're going to win in that division, you have to be somewhat viable against the run like they used to be when they had DJ Reader, right? They've lost that. They lost that when they lost Reader. They got to get that back. I think Williams would give him a shot with the run defense to do that.
All right, 18 with Seattle.
18 with Seattle. This is fun because they filled out the defensive line pretty good. I really don't need secondary. I like the way their defense looks right now. The player that, if he was on the board, I would take here. Well, and even then, I wouldn't necessarily have to. I would think about Jahad Campbell, but they re-signed Ernest Jones, and they have Therese Knight, who was okay last year as a rookie. If they don't trade down, the two obvious needs are interior O-line and receiver. The good news for Seattle, they're picking 50, they're picking 52, they're picking 82, they're picking 92. That's interior offensive line gold to me in that range, whether you wanted to sit there or trade up. I think I'm going receiver here. And
Interesting.
I'm kind of debating which ones it could be. I think Ibuka might be a little bit redundant to what they already have. You've got Cooper Kupp, who plays, he's probably going to play in that Z kind of run blocking role. I think Ibuka is kind of redundant. I'm still tempted here, and he's been falling down on boards for I don't know what reason. But I think Luther Burden would fit in with these guys. I know you'd have kind of a smaller core. You have him, you have Smith and Jigba, but I think what Burden can do after the catch.
And Cooper Kupp too, yeah.
I think what Burden could do after the catch. And actually, I should say, we talked about this the other day too with Sam Darnold, Clint Kubiak. His speed to get downfield and his ability after the catch to add those dimensions to their offense with Smith and Jigba as a great route runner, Cooper Kupp as a movable piece. I think in this scenario, unless they want to reach for an interior guy or trade down, they could trade down, get any more picks, and just keep building. I think receivers should very much be on the board here. And I think if you walk in with a 4 of Burden, Smith and Jigba, Kupp, and MVS, all of a sudden I don't feel that bad about Seattle as long as they get interior O-line on day 2, which they very, very well can do.
I don't hate that. I do think Matthew Golden's going above Luther Burden at this point, though.
We think so?
I think that's what's going to happen. So
I don't hate that either because you're getting a good outside route runner, and if I'm talking deep ball, we're talking about a guy who just ran a 4.29 also. I could honestly go either way on that.
Yeah,
I like Burden a little better. They're a little different style.
I'm with you. I would take Burden. I think Golden liked more by teams.
I do think Golden can fit in there. Again, the explosive speed and the stop and start and the route running, I think makes sense. Let's go with Matt Golden because if we think he's going ahead of Burden, I think this would be a logical spot. And now you've really got the speed threat, the slot threat, or some people say 2 slot threats, and then Cooper Kupp also as a veteran savvy route runner. I think then Sam Darnold will start looking pretty comfortable, and you unleash Golden on those deep balls too, that 4.29 40. That makes a lot of sense to me too.
All right, I like it. Next up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think this is the spot where I'm going to go with James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher from Tennessee. Huge fan of him. I think he's a top 10 prospect or around that in this draft. And I think Tampa Bay can still use some help at edge rusher. They have right now. They got Hassan Reddick in there, but he's only I think on a 1-year deal, I believe. And then Yaya Diaby, he's a solid player, is your other edge rusher. I know they drafted Chris Braswell last year as well, but I don't think Reddick's a long-term answer, and I think Pierce really fits well in this 3-4 scheme that they have. So I'm going to go James Pierce Jr. He's a player who should go a lot higher than this on draft night, but I think this will probably be around the range that he goes here.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. I think the two guys there to pick between were Pierce and Ezeraku, because I think Ezeraku would fit in here awesome in Tampa Bay as well. So I don't have any issue with either of those. Denver at 20. All right, so We don't need safety because we signed one in free agency.
Don't need linebacker either that much.
Don't need linebacker, and even then, I probably wouldn't have done it here unless Campbell were on the board.
Don't need tight end. I mean, I don't think Colson Loveland they'd take with Evan Ingram now and there.
I think
it feels a little redundant if they do that.
A little if you're moving Ingram around. Maybe you get more of a Y kind of tight end. We could ask Toscano about that one, what he thinks. Maybe get old friend Terrence Ferguson there for Bo Nix in the later rounds. Okay, so maybe we won't go tight end. Oh, well, I should just do the obvious, shouldn't I? Now, if we're going to go Evan Ingram as a flex tight end, and we still need quote-unquote jokers in this offense. Now, can I go Luther Burden III?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think we do. I think we do that now. So now you've got a vertical threat in Sutton. You've got one after-the-catch threat at tight end in Evan Ingram. You've got another after-the-catch threat who can get vertical and Luther Burden III, cause some matchup problems, move around the formation. I'm in on it. Luther Burden III at Denver.
All right.
All right, you going quarterback or no?
Oh, man.
Oh, actually, no. There's an easy – not easy, but – oh, there's a pick here I would make if you're not going quarterback. You going to wait? You going to keep waiting on Aaron Rodgers? Cam Hayward's done waiting, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I think they're going to bring in Rodgers or Russell Wilson. Now, that might not keep you from taking a quarterback, but I don't think they're going into next year with Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson as their quarterback room right now.
Certainly not.
So...
Or is it Jameis? Maybe Jameis?
Could be Jameis.
Eli.
Who are the one you're looking at right now?
The player I'm looking at. No, it's not Jackson Dart. Eli. Sorry, I wouldn't. They might, but the player I would be looking at in this scenario. We know the numbers, the grades, and all that. The grades support it. It's just what are the Steelers going to do, and do they actually think of Dart in that? I would highly consider Jahdae Barron here.
The only problem is I don't think he fits Pittsburgh's defense really that well. They run the 5th highest rated man coverage in the NFL and a lot of press coverage. I don't think that's really what Jahdae Barron does best.
You make a good point there. But his talent.
Yeah, that's the problem. I do agree that
even with Slay in there, he could play in the slot. I know they have Beanie Bishop, but Barron's so talented.
Yeah, I think.
You make a good point. There's been talk of D-line here too, but I'm not a huge fan, like a Kenneth Grant. I'm not a huge fan of that. I would actually still, you know what, too? I would still consider receiver. I would still consider a Emeka Egbuka here.
Yeah.
Because they need something. It's not, the receiving core is more talented with Metcalf. It's not diverse by any means.
You're kind of just saying that the Roman Wilson pick then just didn't work, which is fine.
Okay, but think about Roman Wilson. He's also another vertical threat, even if he's going to get on the field. Because last year it didn't work. He didn't play at all. Even at Michigan, he was a vertical threat. Starks is sitting there too. They just signed a safety, didn't they?
Well, they have Malachi's is free safety. I don't think Minka and Malachi work that well together. That's the other problem. I'm gonna actually. I know you don't like it. I'm gonna go with D tackle here.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to go D-tackle. I think Cam Hayward, I know he's playing great, and you let him go until he can't go anymore, but he is, I think, 35, 36 years old right now. I think adding more in that room. I like Keanu Benton, but once Cam Hayward retires, this all of a sudden becomes a huge need in Pittsburgh. So you have Isaiah Loudermilk there. I'm going to go with Kenneth Grant is what I'm going to do.
I'm gonna. This feels like something I'm gonna keep pushing back on the rest of the draft.
I think it's definitely an option. I think it's absolutely still an option for them. I'm gonna go with Kenneth Grant.
Man, oh man.
I debated Walter Nolan too because I think Keanu Benton plays a lot of nose tackle for them.
Running back a thought here at all for you?
I don't think they do it.
Sitting on Warren and Gainwell. Wait for it. And Cordero Patterson. We know Arthur Smith loves Cordero Patterson. I'm
gonna go Kenneth Grant. Lock it in.
All right.
Eli took it too. So.
Oh, he already did it. We're set. I think looking at my options there, I might have gone at Egbuka.
I don't hate it. I think D tackle is very much still in play for them.
Okay.
Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh, you took Kenneth Grant from me. Well, one Michigan guy was gone, but I think I'm going. I'm with Eli here. I'm going with the other one.
Yep.
The Chargers need help at tight end.
They were so close to getting Brock Bowers last year too. They tried to trade up for him. I heard.
Chargers? No, you're thinking of the other
element. Oh, you're thinking of the Rams. Sorry,
I'm
thinking of the Rams.
You're thinking of McVay.
I'm already looking ahead to the Rams. Yeah.
You're looking ahead to the Rams already. No, I'll take the Michigan connection here and go with Loveland to the Chargers. I think it's kind of weird. Other than what they signed Mike Williams, we haven't really seen the Chargers add a whole lot of dynamic pieces to their offense in free agency. They got Najee Harris. They got old friend Mike Williams, but we're still kind of searching for a dynamic weapon aside from Ladd McConkey. Colson Loveland would be perfect, and it's not just because it's Jim Harbaugh. He would fill such a need in this offense to be a matchup problem at tight end, in line, out in the slot, out wide. We saw for the last 2 years that he can win anywhere on the field. He's so fluid. He's such a spectacular route runner. Played most of this past season with a shoulder problem that kind of hindered his blocking. If he's 100%, Jim Harbaugh darn well knows what he can do, and if he's there at 22, I think that's a good direction to go in.
All right, I like it a lot. I'm going to take – I know they don't do this, but I'm going to go with Emeka Egbuka here to the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, over a defensive player.
Yeah, I just, dude. Oh. Right now, their highest grade receiver from last year was Jaden Reed, and he was 50th in grade last year. So they have not taken a first-round receiver since 2002. I think they need to do it right now. I don't know if Emeka Egbuka solves their need for a true number one receiver, but you just got to get more in that room.
Wow. Over Barron, over Ezraku. Jeff Hafley passing up his own guy. They're not going to listen to him. Oh, boy. Ooh,
yeah.
We're going first-round receiver for the Packers. What was it, 2002 was the last time?
I forgot.
Javon Walker?
I forgot Janae Barron's on the board.
Did Eli click it already?
No, he didn't click it. Hold on, let me just...
Did he fall asleep? No, we're good. Okay.
I'll go, screw it. I'm going Janae Barron.
Oh!
I take back my pick. Thank you for calling that out.
Oh, boy.
I forgot he was available.
The hesitant GM. You were about to break a 20-year run to let this defense
I literally was
apart.
about to do it, and then I was like, wait a minute. I forgot that Janae Barron's still here, and they at least last year, they ran the 7th highest rated zone coverage in the NFL.
And we still don't know the Jair Alexander situation.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So, good call.
I think if Janae Barron did fall to the Packers, it would be a spectacular pick. It would be. If you didn't get him there, I would have taken him at 26 to the Rams for sure.
All right, I'm going.
That might have put him over the top.
Janae Barron. Yep.
Minnesota 24. I need to look at a depth chart real quick. I have two thoughts here, which is 2 more than I usually have. Thank you, Eli. I have 2. I'm between 2 players, Max. One is the guy at the top there in Malachi Starks. Put him on the back with Harrison Smith. They lost Cam Bynum in free agency. They have Josh Metellus. Don't have a whole lot of depth at safety right now. It's either Malachi Starks or it's Walter Nolan. Because I would really like the run defense complement that Nolan would bring to Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, who were brought in definitely to improve the interior pass rush. This is the reason that I would go, if I was going defensive tackle, we're still thinking about it, this is why I would go Nolan over, say, Derek Harmon for them. Because I think Nolan brings a little more right now in the run defense side of it. I think if you need interior pass rush, you would take Harmon. Thoughts on this, Starks versus Nolan for Minnesota?
I would probably go with Starks.
And again, Minnesota.
I think after losing Cam Bynum, especially, and they signed Allen and Hargrave, they clearly prioritized D-tackle on free agency. I don't think they get a first-round D-tackle. They might wait until the next round in a loaded class. I think Starks might be a good pick here.
Starks and Harrison Smith at safety would be fun. They're both very flexible. And we've talked about this before. For as much as I do like Nolan and the potential of the ceiling and learning from Hargrave and Allen how to rush the passer, there's a lot of run-stopping D-tackles in this draft. Also, keep in mind, too, Minnesota, maybe the most prime trade-down team in this entire first round.
They need picks.
They need picks. They only have 4 picks in this entire draft. So if they make the pick here, and we were in this scenario, I think it's either Starks or Nolan. I'll go with it. Malachi Starks, put him back there with Harrison Smith.
Love it. All right, 25 here. This is a easy pick because it's a pick they have to make. It's almost like a pick like the Giants. Well, they have to pick the quarterback. Houston has to take an offensive lineman. And I think here, with the board falling this way, I think the top O-lineman left for them would be Josh Simmons. So they need a left tackle. They traded away Larry Tunsil to the Washington Commanders. Right now, that was kind of the only saving grace for Houston's O-line was Laramie Tunsil. You traded him away. Now you got not much on that offensive line. So you bring in Josh Simmons there. I think they need to take a left tackle.
Very quick question before Eli does this. I believe, did they just sign Cam Robinson as well?
They just signed Cam Robinson.
Okay.
I still think Josh Simmons is going to be the pick here, though.
Okay, just how much now? Because they got Christian Kirk, but is there any thought at all? I'm going to actually go with 2 things. Is there any thought at all about Ibuka here at receiver? Because I think with the moves that they're making, when they've talked about, we think Titus Howard could play left tackle, or signing Cam Robinson and trading for Ed Ingram, it feels like they're trying to patch this together the way it is. Nothing's ever 100%, only a Sith deals and absolutes, right? D tackle and receiver are still needs here.
I don't think they're going to do it.
I'm just throwing it out there. Teams hate to feel like they're backed into taking a certain player or a certain position. Like, to me, this is still a spot. And you can go Simmons, that's fine. I get it. Like, it's bad. The pass protection is rough right now. But I still think a guy like Ibuka would be a consideration here. I still think somebody like Walter Nolan would be a consideration here.
I think it's an option. They need to, dude. I don't think you can go into next year, even after signing Cam Robinson, with this O-line looking like this. So I'm going to take Josh Simmons here. I'm taking Josh Simmons.
That's all. Actually, the best way I can leave this is go ahead and put Simmons in. Obviously, he's got the odd numbers, but the best way I would leave this, I'll say it 5 weeks ahead of time. Don't be shocked at all if that's not an offensive lineman, because if they're just trying to patch it together for a year, because then it's then who's you sign Robinson? If you sign Simmons or if you draft Simmons, where does he play? Is it the right side? Is Titus Howard inside? This is the problem with the Texans. You're right. We have no idea what their offensive line looks like. Not a clue.
Yeah.
At almost any spot.
I don't hate putting Simmons on the interior for a little bit or on the right tackle spot with Blake Fisher there.
Okay. Which means Titus is playing back inside, say left guard.
Right now, Titus is probably playing left guard, and then I don't hate putting Fisher in at right guard, and then putting Simmons at right tackle.
Okay, and then I mean,
I feel better about that than anything else. I do think I want to shout out. I think Tyler Booker's an option here because they do run a lot of gap scheme in Houston. So I think Tyler Booker could be there, and you can put him at right guard for Juice Scruggs. But I think
it's tough.
They got to keep going.
It's you hate to be in that situation where Houston is right now, where there's going to be a mountain of public pressure even to take an offensive lineman just to do it. And that's a lot of times where things go wrong. They
needed no lineman even before they signed Cam Robinson,
and there's
even before they traded away Larry Tunsil. And now I know they signed Cam Robinson, but like that's a downgrade, and you still need a line.
That's a Band-Aid. So they have a bunch of Band-Aids on their offensive line right now. So that's all I'm saying is that the most likely scenario? Sure. I still think receiver and D tackle would be on the board here.
Yeah,
I do, because their run defense also is not good enough to beat, say, Baltimore.
I also
or this
with Emeka Egbuka. What do you do with Christian Kirk? And who plays on the outside then with Emeka Egbuka and Christian Kirk?
Egbuka more often.
I just don't know if he's going to be able to win on the outside in the NFL, though, is the problem.
I think he can. And you're also talking about a guy who is really – I think he's more movable than Kirk is. You can get him. Your ex guy is Nico Collins. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know. I just don't
need the outside one-on-one winner, sure. If you need the zone beater and a guy with all the motion they're going to run in their offense – we saw Ibuka we saw him do it, right? It didn't always have to be in the slot at Ohio State. I don't have an issue with the role Ibuka would play. Is really the role they wanted Stephon Diggs in last year. I think Ibuka could play something of that role in this offense.
Yeah, I don't love him on the outside of the NFL either. So I'm gonna go with Josh Simmons here.
O-line. 26, the Rams. Okay. This is one I gotta think about actually. I'm not going left tackle because they re-signed Alaric Jackson. If Barron was on the board, it would be a home run. For sure, I would have taken Jahdae Barron in this defense. D-line, linebacker. Is it? Oh, man, this is tough. They signed Poona Ford. I'm not getting this so often. This is why I think the Rams are a possibility to trade up for a player that they're going to want. They're Super Bowl contenders with the team they have right now. So I think they would be a very good trade-up candidate to get Loveland if they wanted tight end, to get Jahdae Barron if they wanted a corner in this scenario. If Will Johnson did, for any reason, fall this far, I think he'd be a great pick. This is a hard one. What do we have? Nakua, Adams, probably not going first-round receiver.
No, they're not taking a receiver. They run 12 personnel more than anyone, really.
Yeah, this is the problem, and Warren and Loveland are off the board. It's why I think they could trade up for Colston Loveland. D-tackle.
Corner's a pretty big need.
Corner's a huge need. And you know what? Can I see the corners real quick? Just the options here, because my problem is I don't love the scheme fits here.
I don't think Savon Ravel is really a good scheme fit.
See, I think in round 2, Darian Porter would be fantastic. Would they go... Is it Harrison?
I don't know if any of these guys.
Harrison. Can we click Maxwell Harrison for a second? I know he's a guy that the league really likes, especially with the speed.
I just don't know if he goes this high.
Would Ravel go before him? Do they take Ravel and
Ravel goes before him, but I don't know if he fits the defense. I don't. What about Gray Zabel? I know they signed. I know their interior line's kind of a mess right now.
They're pretty. I mean, when they're healthy, they're pretty well set. They're going to go with Vila, and they have a mini competition at center.
Bo Limmer,
and they just
Kevin Dotson.
Coleman. Well, Dotson's not going anywhere. They're not taking a center. If they're taking Zabel, they're taking him to play center, and they already have 2. They're not going to do it.
Yeah.
This is where I think they could trade up. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Siobhan Ravel because it sure feels like there's a lot of scouts that think he's going in the first round, guaranteed, despite the injury. And I know obviously he's more of a man-to-man corner. It got a little bit better last year when we saw him at East Carolina. The only other spot I could go here maybe is linebacker, but I don't think there's another linebacker I'd take at this spot. I'll go with Ravel. I'll take the talent play at corner. That's a tough one. It's, again, I think the Rams could very well trade up and get aggressive for a guy that they want. Like you mentioned before, they wanted Brock Bowers last year. Couldn't work out a trade. So I'm going to go with it. Still suspicious of them thinking they may try to trade up for Loveland. We'll go with Ravel. Talent play at corner, trying to fill out the secondary.
Love it. All right, next up I have the Ravens. I'm going to go with Tyler Bucker here. I think he fits that scheme very well. It's a gap-heavy scheme, and I think Tyler Booker, with his strength, would be a guy that just would move people and help move people in that offense. They have a need at guard now after McCarry signed away with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I think getting a guy like Tyler Booker in there with Daniel Falele, you have 2 massive guards who were just can move people in the run game, and Tyler Booker's a pretty good pass blocker as well. I think Tyler Bucker this is like one of these teams I think he would really fit in the first round.
I agree. I think for as much as we've talked about scheme fit and where he should go, we still need to give Tyler Booker the credit he deserves as a pass protector, and that's the biggest thing as always, is protecting your quarterback, protecting Lamar Jackson. McCarry did a nice job in pass protection this past year after he moved from right tackle to left guard in the middle of the season, but to solidify that spot with McCarry leaving, with Ronnie Stanley staying, get Booker in there. You still have borderline elite offensive line, Linderbaum and Stanley next to him. A pretty good pair of guys to have, to be right in between. So, I think that's a great move there for Tyler Booker. This is about the range where I would start to think about him, right? Yeah. As opposed to, in past mocks where we've seen top 20 or even something close to top 10. I think the Ravens, I think he would fit in there. That feels about right.
All right. Next up.
This is easy. Detroit, they need edge rush help. There's a really good stand-up edge rusher right there who's also excellent in run defense.
Yep.
I believe an 80-plus run defense grade in each of the last 3 years. If Donovan Ezeraku gets here to Detroit, have at it. He's my edge 4. I think, was he your edge 5? Did you have
somewhere like edge 5 or edge 6?
I think you had him 5. Trevor's got him 4 right now. This is, he's 16th on the big board. We'll see if he ends up going even higher. But if he got to 28 here for the Lions, I think that's exactly what you'd want out of the edge player across from Aiden Hutchinson. I think Ezeraku is money here if he gets to 28 for Detroit.
Love it. All right, Donovan Ezeraku goes to 28 to the Lions. At number 29, a guy that I would have considered there was Donovan Ezeraku. I'm gonna go with another edge rusher in Nick Scorton here. I'm gonna go with ultimately for them. So I think they still need edge rusher. I think that's probably the biggest need in Washington right now is edge rusher. I have Nick Scorton edge 3 in this draft. I am super high on Nick Scorton. I think the Purdue tape is actually who he is. I don't think he's really allowed to be fully unleashed at Texas A&M this past year, as was a lot. I mean, you look at the Texas A&M D-line from this past year and the year before even. Walter Nolan didn't break out until he transferred away from there. LT Overton, a guy for next year's draft, did not break out until he transferred away from there. Shamar Stewart has never broken out his entire career in that defense either. Now, obviously, Nick Scorton broke out at Purdue, was severely limited at Texas A&M this past year. That, to me, says a lot about their scheme more than anything else. And I know Mike Elko is a guy that would rather have sound defenders across the board, not really star defenders. It doesn't really allow his guys to be fully unleashed as pass rushers. That says a lot about their scheme, in my opinion, which is why I think Shamar Stewart, a lot of people like him, and why I think Nick Scorton is getting slept on in this draft, because I don't think what he showed at A&M this past year, which is still really good, still had an 80 PFF grade this past year, but I don't think that was really who he actually is as a player. So I like Nick Skorton a lot here at 29.
Agreed. I think the 2023 tape is the foundation of what his ceiling could be. And then you could still reduce him inside to play some of those roles he did at A&M and be versatile. I think to show that he could do that capably at A&M is big time. But what makes Skorton special is that ability to stand up, get his momentum going off the edge from a 2-point stance, and give Dan Quinn potentially a big-time pass rusher here. I think the other consideration there for me would have been corner. Somebody maybe like Trey Amos would have been consideration. I think Siobhan Revell, that would be another team if he was on the board. I think Dan Quinn would really like his ability on the outside. Got Marshawn Lattimore for another year, trying to figure out that other corner spot. At some point, it feels like Washington's going to look at outside corner in this draft. I would like to get Mike Sainristil back in the slot to his more natural position, but he showed he could capably do it outside, and you know what? We know Sainristil's a dog, and if they have to leave him out there, then so be it. But I think Skorton's a good pick. There's a lot to fix on this Washington defense still. Didn't do as much as in free agency as I thought they would. So, had a lot of money to spend. They took a patient approach on defense. Obviously got Tunsil and Debo on the offensive side, so they're almost set there. I think it's a solid pick, and I believe Skorton is at least a borderline first-round pick for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Buffalo Bills here at 30.
Bills here at 30. Oh, actually, scratch this. I'm thinking about this too much. If Walter Nolan's still on the board.
Oh, true.
If Walter Nolan's still on the board, this is the run defense all day long. D-tackle. They're pretty much, I don't love their linebacking core and run defense, but they're kind of just in on it. They just gave Terrell Bernard an extension. They have Milano. They have Dorian Williams. I actually, a coverage linebacker would make more sense. But no, Walter Nolan, if he got here to 30 to Buffalo, I think they should jump out of his shoes. That'd be a great pick.
Yeah, I love that a lot. He's a guy that I was targeting next for Kansas City. Instead, I'll go with another D-tackle in Derek Harmon. I don't really think that Kansas City has much at D-tackle outside of obviously Chris Jones, who might be the best D-tackle in the NFL. But you had Derek Harmon in there, can learn from Chris Jones, and you had him in that defense as well. I think that's a pretty big need for Kansas City right now. I know they kind of filled out their offensive line enough where they're taking a huge swing on Jalen Moore and hoping Jesus Matia can play left guard. I don't think they're taking a tackle now after paying Jalen Moore that much money. So I think right now you have Chris Jones and Jerry Tillery as your starting 2 D tackles. I don't love that. So I think a guy like Derek Harmon would be in play here for Kansas City.
Yeah, and there's many that think Harmon could go well before this spot, right? Yep. And I think for them to, for Nolan and Harmon to fall this far, it may not happen, but look, every mock draft shakes out differently, and there's a lot of teams that need these types of defensive tackles. So I think it is a good pick. Add to the defensive line depth on this team, and like you mentioned, try to build it around Chris Jones, around George Karlaftis, and then Philadelphia here at 32. Yeah.
This one's interesting. I think
because some of my options that I usually take here are gone. Nick Skorton's gone. Tyler Booker's gone. Those are 2 players I would really think about.
Can I offer a fun one here?
Sure.
Nicky Manwari is still on the board, and they traded away C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Oh, we didn't get Nicky Manwari off the board sooner.
I think that might be an option here for Philadelphia.
That's an option, because if there's one thing...
Was C.J. Gardner-Johnson gone now?
Yeah, there's some similarities there, aren't there? I know Gardner-Johnson's not built. Nobody's built like Manwari and what he can do, but I'll tell you what, when you're talking about in this defense, you are very rarely asking... And I know Xavier Watts in some mock drafts lately has been a pick here, but Xavier Watts,
he's not going above Manwari, I don't think.
I don't think he's not going to go above Manwari, and I think there might be a single high team somewhere in the second round that wants it. Maybe even Al Golden in Cincinnati. It would make a lot of sense too. But if you were going to put there's a couple of schemes I would like him with Dan Quinn in Washington too. If you were going to put him in a scheme where he could float around in the box, play half the field, play a quarter, kind of dig his heels in the dirt and wait and see ball, get ball, and hit people, Manwari might work for the Eagles. I know usually they're going trenches. And again, if this was the 2 picks I've been making most often here with Philly, actually, could we see that? What are fans putting as the most often here? Skorton, Harmon, Pierce is interesting. I don't know if he's getting that low. Alexander, no. So everybody is going trenches, edge, and D tackle there. You can see by far the top 2 to replace. I get it. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, they're always building the trenches, but they do have that open safety spot, and they haven't filled it yet. If they don't fill it in the draft, or maybe sometime soon here, I still think Justin Simmons might be an option to come back with Vic Fangio there from the Denver days. But let's go Nicky Manwari here. Let's get him a safety. Maybe with the combine and all of that, he's not going to fall this far. I think that's something we may not have accounted for in this mock, but it could happen. Anything can happen.
He's 26 on consensus board right now.
If he's 26 on consensus, so there you go. He could get to 32. I think Eamon in that defense, alongside Reed Blankenship and with Vic Fangio running it, I think that's one of the spots that could make a lot of sense for his skills.
All right, so that wraps up our post-free agency mock draft for our audio-only listeners. I'll go over it really quickly. Titans take Cam Ward. Browns take Travis Hunter. Giants take Shedeur Sanders. Patriots take Alto Carter. Jaguars take Mason Graham. Raiders take Tedero McMillan. Jets take Tyler Warren. Panthers take Jalen Walker. Saints take Will Campbell. Ashton Jinty to the Bears. Armand Bembou to the 49ers. Shamar Stewart to the Cowboys. Dolphins take Calvin Banks Jr. Colts take Jahad Campbell. Falcons take Mike Green. Cardinals take Will Johnson. The Bengals take Michael Williams. The Seahawks take Matthew Golden. Buccaneers take James Pierce Jr. Luther Burden III to the Broncos. Kenneth Grant to the Steelers. Colson Lovin to the Chargers. Jahdae Barron to the Packers. Malachi Starks to the Vikings. Josh Simmons to the Texans, Savon Ravel to the Rams, Tyler Booker to the Ravens, Donovan Ezra-Rocco to the Lions, Nick Skorson to the Commanders. Bills take Walter Nolan, Chiefs take Derek Harmon, and the Eagles rounded out taking Nick Emanwari, the safety from South Carolina. That wraps up our first round mock draft post-free agency edition. Let us know in the comments below what you would have done in this mock draft, who you think is going to go to your favorite team. Let us know in the comments below. We have plenty more draft content coming out leading up to the 2025 NFL Draft. Got our position rankings coming out right now, and a lot more mock drafts coming out, including an all-eligible mock draft coming out in April where 2025, 2026, and 2027 players are eligible to be selected. You got guys like Kate Klubnik next year. Jeremiah Smith is eligible to be picked as well. A lot of guys. Should be a fun mock draft when we do that in April. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single episode, and enjoy March Madness. For Dalton Wasserman, for producer Eli back there, I'm Max Chadwick. We'll see you guys next time.